Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of With a Side of Hustle. This is my chance to sit down with some friends and some colleagues and discuss their small business or small project that they're currently working on, find out how it all started, where it is now, and where it is headed in the future, and how we can help expand that network. On this episode, we sit down with my good friend Meg Kerns, who is a digital strategist as well as the author of the mom blog, Mother of Chaos. Meg, how are you?
I am fantastic. Thank you for having me here today. I'm excited to chat.
Thank you for coming on. We were actually just discussing before we kind of started here that this is the first time we've chatted outside of a text forum.
Yeah, or watching each other on a YouTube video.
or commenting on something that we've heard someone else say.
Yes.
But it's been about 3 years now that we've connected.
Yeah, definitely. We're going on year 4.
Woo!
Yeah, because we just finished April, so technically we're going on year 4 now.
Yeah. I have to ask because this will live in infamy as the unprecedented time. How's everything going over there for you?
We are doing all right. My husband works at the hospital. Okay. So it's a little bit different for us because I have 3 kids. So we're very careful about not seeing anyone. Sure. Because we don't want to be the reason that somebody gets sick. And we don't know, none of us are sick, thank goodness, knock on wood. Right. But he does have some people close to him that work at the hospital who are sick. So We're being very careful. Like the kids don't touch him when he comes home from work, gets up, goes and grabs a shower real quick, and then they can, be near him. But it's hard for him. So we're just trying to make sure we support him and keep ourselves sane.
Understood. And you have, is it 3 kids, 4 kids?
I have 3. I have a 6-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 20-month-old.
Oh, wow.
And I work out of my house, right. And I don't have childcare.
And you have like 9 jobs.
Yeah, I have. Yeah. Somebody texted me today and they were like, I am inspired by you because you do all of these things. And I was like, please don't be inspired. I drink a lot of wine. So I'm like, I don't know if you need to be inspired. We all have our things that we do. And at the end of the day, if everyone in the house is alive, then we're good. That's
all that matters. Now, Where is home for you?
We are in Northern Virginia. So we are about 40 minutes outside of Washington, D.C.
Yeah, you're not too terribly far away from down here in Orlando.
No, we've driven there several times.
Yeah.
I got engaged at Disney World. So it's a very special place for my husband and
I. Everyone who I've interviewed sort of has a Disney connection to either myself or the world. So that's really very cool. Okay. So as I said, 9 jobs. Listen, what do we got?
Yes. Okay. So first and foremost, my unpaid job is I'm a mom. Okay. It is a full-time gig. Right. And overtime is not time and a half. I also own a digital strategy company focusing on content creation for social media for small businesses. I work mainly in the government contracting space, which is a very interesting space to be in for social media. If you most people think government, they're like, oh, the CIA. I'm like, I don't work with the CIA, but the CIA does have a Twitter. So that's something to remember. If they can do it, anyone can do it. That's my thought. I also do some liaison work for project management and things like that for other clients and friends that I have had. I do pop back in with friends of mine who I used to work with now and then when they need some support. Okay. And I also have a mom blog. It's called The Mother of Chaos. And
I love that. That's fantastic. I feel like that's the definition of mother.
Yes.
Mother.
Yes. And it's pretty much just everything.
Chaos.
Everything that we do is chaotic around here. And nothing is pretty and nothing is Instagram worthy, but everything goes on Instagram.
Sure.
So I create content for preschool and young elementary students on YouTube so they can watch, especially right now, so that they have something to kind of keep them entertained and educated during the time when they're not in school.
So let's focus on the preschool stuff just to start off here with. So how does that get started? How do you get into that space?
So I used to teach kindergarten and 1st grade in a former life. That's what I went to college for. I got my master's in integrating technology in schools. So that was the really nice bridge between the teaching and then the digital media. And when everything kind of hit, I have my 4-year-old is in preschool. My then 5-year-old, now 6-year-old, was in kindergarten. And all of a sudden they said, you're not going to school anymore.
Right.
And there was no plan from the school system. There was no hey, we're going to start digital learning. This is what you have to do. It was like a good 2.5 to 3 weeks with nothing. Uh-huh. And so the day that we got the note, the president had said, hey, we're shutting things down. The governor was like, everything is shut down. I just said, you know what? I'm going to start live streaming for preschool kids.
Gotcha.
And I put together a lesson plan and I live streamed for an hour and a half and taught my kids in front of me and just live streamed it on YouTube for other kids. And we currently have over 1,000 kids signed up to like take part in these lessons.
So literally like that is not, it's not like, oh, I was thinking about doing it. It was out of necessity.
And it was 100% out of necessity.
8 weeks ago, maybe
yes.
ish, somewhere in that time frame that we're in presently. That you just like, this has to happen.
Yeah, I actually wrote it down in my notebook as I was watching like one of the newscasts or something like that. At that time, I had somebody who was coming to watch my kids a couple days a week because I do work from home, and having 3 tiny bodies and trying to run a business and have like phone calls without tiny half-naked humans walking by, like that's not professional. So we try to avoid that. Call them the learning live stream because they didn't have a better name for it.
Gotcha. So I'm assuming, I'm hoping you've heard of the Khan Academy. Have you heard of Khan Academy? So it feels like you're doing the preschool version of that.
Yeah.
Is that something you've cognitively thought about, or is it sort of just happening as we go along?
It's just kind of happening because my original thought process was I have to teach my kids, and I have the skill set in order to teach these children because I've done it before. I've got probably 6 or 7 boxes of read aloud books just in my basement that I had from when I was teaching. And I was like, I literally have all of these resources. It would be a shame for me not to do these things with my kids.
Gotcha.
And I said, if I'm going to do it for my kids, I might as well just share it with the rest of the world.
Why not? Right.
Yeah. I was like, there's no point in not doing it. And then there were a lot of people who were like, thank you so much. Like, it's helpful because they are like, I never wanted to be a homeschool teacher.
Right.
That, they're like, I had my children to send them to school. Like, this was never part of my plan. So, and there are people who just
children to get rid of them is what you said in case you
I had children so other people could teach them and I could just reap the reward of their intelligence.
Love it.
But that's the thing. Like, some people are born teachers. Some people love to learn and love to teach. And other people are like, no, I'm really good at other things. And teaching math is not one of them.
Yeah.
Reminding my child not to talk about how she has to go to the bathroom on a live stream is not what I wanted to do with my life. Like, those are things that we have to think about.
Right. Hey, hopefully those days are just ahead for me. We'll see.
Yeah. And if ever you want to borrow one, I've got a couple.
Good to know.
You can choose your flavor. I've got the stubborn, I've got the sweet and sensitive, and I've got the all boy terror. So any of those are an option.
Wow, you've got the whole gamut right there.
We do. And I actually had somebody the other day, I had said, do you have any questions? Like, I was on Instagram and I was like, if anybody has questions about like parenting or silly stories or whatever, like, let me know. And somebody was like, can you give me tips for parenting stubborn children? And I was like, have I got news for you? And I think I did 3 or 4 slides, like 3 or 4 stories that was just like, here are some of the things that we do. And at the end of the day, if none of it works, like, give yourself a timeout as a parent.
Yeah.
Like, make sure your kids are safe, walk 5 feet away and sit quietly with some headphones in. Like, just give yourself a timeout. But it's stuff like that people don't think about because we have this idea of like, you have to be a great parent. You have to do all, like, you have to bake with your kids every day. I don't bake with my kids every day. I barely bake at all because it's mess. Or I would eat it all. The COVID-25 is like a real thing there. So, but it's those sorts of things, like all of these expectations, when reality, if my kids hear, I love you as the last thing that they hear during the day when they go to bed, then it was a successful day. That's the bar.
Yeah. I was about to ask you, what advice do you have for parents and whatnot for this time, or in general, just homeschooling and whatnot? But I think I'm not even gonna ask because you just got the head. As long as you can still say I love you at the end of the day, I think that's what the parent has to remember, in my opinion. Yeah. Because I live with my mom and my brother just due to circumstance, and we get into it and it's back and forth, but there's always today was a rough day. I still love you, and I go to bed and start over again. And then she walked my interview and get angry again.
No, but that's the thing. Like, there are so many things that we worry about every day, especially like as humans, as parents, as, leaders in whatever field we're in. There are so many things that we worry about that at the end of the day are just minutia. Yeah. And it helps sometimes to remember that. And there are times like we could, the 6:45 to 7:30, 45-minute hour of my, section of my day is absolute chaos over here.
Right.
it's usually peppered with like a Nerf gun fight and like somebody's crying because got shot in the face or like whatever happened. And so like bedtime is insane around here. But at the end of the night, we give each child, like my husband and I both, we are together. We give them each their time to say, you know, I love you, you know, we'll
Right.
see you in the morning, you know, I'm proud of you for this, whatever it is, but each kid gets that.
Right.
So that no matter, even if I'm like so done with the day, I still take that time to be like, nope, here's your kiss, here's your hug, I love you, I will see you in the morning.
Right.
And that's the part that like that they're going to remember.
Well,
and that's the memory I'm trying to make, is that their mother loved them. She
right.
was nuts and she loved them.
That's I want to, for lack of a better term, that was beautiful, Meg.
The other side of that, yesterday I choked on a stress relief gummy and I was like, this is how it ends for me. Like, I was like, I'm going to go out because I choked on a gummy meant to relieve stress.
That's funny.
There are two sides.
Yeah. It's the yin and a yang, right? So as we're working backwards, this preschool stuff. So now all of the digital work you've done previously sort of, I assume, helped what you're doing now. So let's go back. Yes. And how did you discover that social media, digital content was a skill set that was in your wheelhouse?
Yes. So when I got my master's, I said it was in integrating technology in schools. So basically that its degree is a degree where you take the different platforms and you teach children and you teach other, teachers and things like that, how to utilize them for their classrooms, for learning, for communicating, for connecting. That's basically what you're doing on social media. You're just doing it for businesses.
Yeah.
And so I learned about all of the platforms and, you know, the different ways to do things and how like the analytics worked and all of those things within this program. And then when I had my daughter, about 6 weeks after I had her, I said, I can't go back to work. I can't, you know, my kids were going to be in 2 different daycares. Right. Daycare here is very expensive.
Sure.
And so a teacher's salary plus 2 children, like that's another mortgage. And I was like, it would be lovely to own 2 homes, but I can't. So I will
afford this one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead. And so I just said, you know, I finished up my maternity leave. I said, I'm not going to come back. And then I kind of jumped right in. Somebody just happened to talk to me and they were like, hey, there's somebody who's looking to hire a freelancer to do some content creation. And I was like, I mean, I can write, I can make a photo, like that's fine. So I started doing that, learned a lot about what not to do in business, and kind of jumped in and said, I'm going to do this on my own. And so 6 weeks after I had her, I started freelancing. And about 2 weeks after that, I was like, nope, I'm doing this, you know, and finished out some time freelancing and then kind of running my own thing, which then became my full-time thing.
Right.
So the business is called MOKup Media, and it's spelled MOK because those are my initials. So when I talk to people, when I do stand up and do, you know, speaking in webinars, I tell people it's not because I can't spell, it's because those are my initials.
That's the brand, right?
That is the brand. And we do digital strategy and content creation. So it's a good time.
Yeah. What is so being a freelancer, and I've done the freelance stuff with performing and acting and even production assistant work. What is the most difficult thing you've come across with working with a company?
Freelancing is, you have to have the right mindset for freelancing. So the most difficult thing for me in freelancing is that I have an entrepreneur mindset. So I always have these ideas and ways that we can improve. And then when you get into that freelance space where you might be working with another company, they already have things and ways and ways of business that you have to conform to, and it doesn't always work. So There are people who are really, really good at, you know, getting down and doing the work and doing it the way that they've been told. And then there are people who kind of like to experiment. Apparently, I like to experiment. As much as I love rules, I like to experiment. And so that was difficult for me. And then on the other side of that, freelancing is just, it tends to be a little bit more volatile in the way that, you know, just from a payment standpoint, you know, you have to continue to keep things. So there's a lot of pressure there. So I found it a lot more stressful than straight up just having my own business. And it's not easy to have your own business. But it's all reliant upon me. So if something doesn't go well, if something does go well, it's all my fault. And I'm much better to deal with that than having to try and blame somebody else. I'd rather take responsibility and be like, nope, that was my bad, versus being like, oh, this didn't work because they didn't let me. Like, that's just such a hard place for me to be in negatively, that I'd rather just take responsibility.
Yeah, I know, I get that. And that's sort of it's very similar to what happened with me when I was working for the travel company. Like I brought in as a video video production specialist was the title, but I ended up being the host and the producer. So it felt very like freelance, but yet that thumb was there at the same time. And I'll never forget, I got a text one morning from our VP of sales and marketing, and she was on a plane and she was like, these Delta videos are amazing. Let's do this. And I was like, I am one person. How do you like...
They are a multi-billion-dollar company. What? Do you have the resources for me?
Exactly.
But it's a lot of hats, and you don't get to pick the style.
And I was part of, being the video guy. I was still part of the social media team, so I had people around me, but not in that respect. So how do you? It's probably a better question. Do you find people to help you out, or are you strictly you all the time, just 100%?
No, to tell you the truth, I actually have a business coach that one of my clients and I work together. And she was like, I want you to succeed in your business. I would love to hire you full time. She's like, but I want you to succeed. So I'm going to help you find a business coach. So I have a business coach. And I also then rely on people that I kind of surround myself with in my space as well as outside of my space to kind of pop ideas off of. I don't make any choices without running them through at least 3 people first, especially if I'm going to do something new. Just because we all think our ideas are great.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Or on the other side, we think all of our ideas are terrible. And so it's nice to kind of have somebody in the middle who's like, no, this is great. And as much as I love my darling husband, he always thinks my ideas are fine. And so I'm like, I can't believe you because you're just being nice. Like I need somebody who's going to give me like the real deal. Like this is stupid or no, go do it.
Right. And that kind of led itself into how we met. We met through Amy Landino. Well, she's now Landino at the time.
Schmidtastic.
Schmidtastic.
She was Schmidt. That was her Instagram. That is still her Instagram. And she was Schmidtower.
The Savvy Sexy Social Network, which now is Amy TV, which I think is way.
Yes, and they've now started Gatlu House Productions.
Gatlu as well. But I have to let everyone know that I contribute the name of my Instagram and hopeful production company here coming up. That it's you. You were the one I reached out and I was like, I hate my username. Help me. And so just for a quick second, talk me through what that
Yes. Was. So we were actually out, Amy and I were out at an event for PicMonkey in Seattle. And I was, messaging with you on, I think we were on Instagram. And you were like, I hate this. I don't know what to do. And I just said, hey, because she knows who you are. And so I was like, hey, Amy, like, here's what's happening. Here's what he's thinking. Like, what do you think he should call his new username? And she just like popped it like right away. I think it was probably the first one. I think I had come up with like 3 of them. And then she just came up with the one that you are currently using. Oh. And we were all like, nope, that's it. So I was literally just the bridge by which it got to you.
Which I appreciate. And that's the whole collaboration thing where, so we did vlogging every day in August 3 years ago, back in 2017 is how we connected. You're probably the only person from that time frame that I still keep in close contact with. And that's what I loved about that time is that, and everyone goes, oh, social media. I don't know what that impression was, but everyone goes, oh, social media is the bad, it's harmful and blah, 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 blah. Well, in this time, if without it, where would we be? First of all,
it's all we have right now, especially to connect.
Yeah. And secondly, like some of my now closest friends have come from simple social media contacts and connections. That I'm very thankful that I was like, there's one person that I want to reach out to about what to do next. And so I'm glad you were available at that point in time.
Was it you who did the Cheers video where we all sent I was gonna say, I think that was you, where we all you made a video for Amy and we you had gotten a bunch of us together. That was fantastic. I still remember that.
And again, while we're going through all these times, I'm like, oh, I went back and watched all those things, and there's some were really good, and others was like, wow, I was not feeling it that day.
Yeah, I went back and looked through mine because I had a couple of calls with potential clients and they, were asking some questions. I said, oh, I've made videos on these topics. Let me just give them to you. Like here, they're on my channel. They're public. Like just have at it. And then as I was scrolling through, I got to the Veda videos and I was like, what in the world? And so as I'm looking through my thumbnails, I'm like, you could tell when I went through crises because my hair would turn pink and then I'd chop it off. And then just through my videos, just scrolling, apparently I expressed myself through my hair. And so I had pink hair, I had purple hair, I had green hair. It was short, it was curly, it was long. It was the weirdest thing. But I was like, well, apparently I definitely documented a couple things.
Yeah, totally. I know that I express things through, did I edit it or did I just do it and post it? And there were a lot more do it and post it than I remember there being. But yeah, that was a great time. I wish I could do it again, and I probably will do it again at some point in time. But it really, let's talk about actually vlogging every day.
Yeah, it's a lot.
So many people do it. I don't know how they do it. What was your experience vlogging every day for a month?
I've changed so much since then, which I think that was kind of like the catalyst for why I changed, because vlogging every day, like for somebody like me who does have children and does like live in this house, and it's always a disaster because I have kids, like trying to find places to like sit and talk to people where there wasn't like 3 pairs of underwear and a half-eaten sandwich, like that sort of stuff where you're kind of like, oh, you have to be cognizant of the things that are around you. That was difficult. And then just trying to make sure that like I was actually weaving a story into what I was sharing, because for me, I was like, nobody really cares like what I'm doing all day long, because I can barely remember what it is. So nobody wants to see it. Right. Whereas in reality, I was probably wrong. And people did care to see like what was happening. And especially now where I am with the blogging and the sharing on Instagram and those sorts of things, like I share more of my everyday life than I do, you know, my Instagram ready life.
Right.
So that was hard. And just like people who vlog every day, I can't imagine they sleep a lot. I can't imagine they sleep. So a lot of it was about the perception of what I would look like and what my family would look like, the judgment that you could possibly get from it, and then the time constraint. But that being said, the people that I've met and the people that like I love to follow and watch, and I have so much respect for people who do that so often by themselves. Like that's just insane to me. And I love watching it because I like watching what people do. So it's got the goods and the bads.
Exactly. There's the ups and downs, the roller coaster of it all. And I know I live in Orlando. Obviously, I'm super close to Disney World. That sort of became my vlogging go-to. It was the easiest way to be like, hey, I'm at Disney. You know, you want to watch me.
Gosh, I love those. And I do. Every time I was like, hey, he's back. Like, I would just fly through. My husband was like, who is that? And I'd be like, and then he was like, oh, it's the Disney guy. I'm like, yeah, it's the Disney guy. Like, he doesn't know anybody's name that I follow, but he's like, oh no, that's the Disney guy. Like he learned to just know your voice. And he was like, what park is he at today? And I was like, well,
that's good to know. Good to know that mentality out there. Because again, you can put it out there and lots of people are interacting in the comments. You don't really know where it's going or who's watching, and it's great, you know, you check the views and you're like, oh, all of my friends who will be doing this anyway are still watching, so good for that. So what is next for you coming out of this time frame, whenever that may be? I
am learning some new things about my skill sets, which is both cool and terrifying. Sure. I've been asked to do a couple new things that I hadn't been doing before, facilitating webinars and, creating some new things that hadn't been part of my wheelhouse. So I'm excited to kind of branch out into those and see how that works. But at the same time, the mom thing is moving more into the main light, the spotlight right now. I'm getting a lot more a lot more advice seeking about like, how do you handle different things? My favorite thing that I wrote recently was, how do you talk to your kids about a pandemic? Like, how do you talk to little kids without absolutely terrifying them? I always say that like my kids are probably going to need therapy, as everyone will, but at least it'll be because of me. Like, at least it's because I like jumped out from behind a window at them or something. Like, as long as I'm kind of controlling that, I know what they're going to need therapy for and can help. But that's the sort of thing, like just trying to find out how to communicate with our kids. So a lot of that is coming into the forefront. And I'm warring with myself a little bit about, do I step into that or do I stay here in this digital marketing space?
Right.
So that's an interesting juxtaposition right now. And can I do both? That's the other question. And do I want to do both?
I think one lends itself into the other, and one will definitely, one clearly benefits the other. So you wouldn't be doing one without knowing the other. So that within itself is kind of a
exactly.
So that is possible to be all of them.
Yeah. My mother is very excited that I'm using all of my degrees for the whole teaching online thing. Like that was the first. She was like, "This is so," like she was calling me. She was like, "How many people are signed up now?" And then she was like, "I'm just so happy that you can use your teaching degree and your master's degree." And I was like, "Yes, because that's the goal."
Well, there are so many people who
at least we didn't pay for it for nothing.
So
no, all of my siblings and I. Oh, sorry. My siblings and I are in marketing in our respective fields, like in our industries, and none of us went to school for marketing. Not a single one. Yeah.
I guess that's the way of the world at this point in time. Well, where I'm going with this is that we are in that top bracket of millennial labeling.
Yes, we are elder millennials. Yes.
Yeah, and but there's like a subcategory of like zennials who were like not the official millennials who created it, but we're old enough and smart enough to know to adapt to it. I think that much to your comment of like we're able to figure it out. We didn't go to school for it, but we get it. We're able to learn from it faster than maybe others.
Part of it's because we created it. Like we grew up with it, and so we just kind of shaped it. And now we're just
so we're able to just and follow that thing.
My favorite place to be right now socially is TikTok, which is the funniest thing because it's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
And my clients will be like, what do you think about TikTok? And I'm like, I use it for market research. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, the things that are happening on TikTok now are going to be trends on Instagram in 2 weeks or 4 weeks. And they're like, do you think so? And I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
So as much as it's just like the old Vine, it's still a place that I'm learning and trying things out. And like, I can be ridiculous over there and nobody's going to care because nobody's going to see it.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing with like TikTok is the culmination of 3 other things that people couldn't figure out how to do it individually on those. So it just became the dub smash, the Instagram, the Vine, and I think TikTok or Musically was
dub smash originally
became that. So it's the thing that I find crazy about it's a rabbit hole. You watch one and you just
and then it's 2:30 in the morning and I'm like, my kids get up at 6. I need to go to bed.
and the crazy thing, and as you said, it is market research because as for all the ridiculous that is out there on it, there's some incredible stuff out there still. And you're like, oh my God. I know I said Gary Vee briefly earlier, but like you want a lesson in how to use TikTok, follow Gary Vee because he's kind of everyone touts him. He's the master, but he is. For whatever reason, his brain works exactly like it's supposed to for this genre of
100%. We actually found, because we have to do quarantine birthdays, both of my older 2 have spring birthdays, so neither of them can have a birthday party right now, but we actually found our princess party person on TikTok, and she's going to do a Zoom party for my daughter and her friends because we found her there. And I trust her and I've talked to her and like those, because I've built a relationship with her through her content and I see the quality of her content. I actually feel very comfortable being like, here's money, please have a party with my child on Zoom. But without that platform, it wouldn't be as believable.
Yeah. The last thing I want to ask is, where can we find you? If we want more information about the preschool learning or your digital marketing content, where we find you?
Yes. So I am on Twitter and Instagram at Meg Kerns, MEGOKERNS. So those are the places that you'll find me most regularly. That's where I post content most regularly. If you are a Facebook person or a website person, it's themotherofchaos.com.
Nice.
You'll find me there.
Send me all those links, and I'll put them in the descriptions down below on YouTube and up on Facebook Lives. I'm going to do that. Wherever they decide to be.
All of the places.
All the places. All the things. MOKup. It's still, MOKup Media is still a thing?
It is. MOKup Media, media.com. That is the regular, bootstrapping business that is an everyday thing. We do content creation, digital strategy, and building those relationships. And as we say, we turn cold leads into warm handshakes. So that's my favorite thing.
That tag. Did Amy help with that tagline?
She probably did. It was so long ago, but people are always, what they want is to get businesses want more people. Sure. But you can't have more people without a relationship.
Right. There you go. I feel like the MOKup could lean itself into the mock teaching. You're like,
yeah. All of it would work.
every little, it's all the wheels, right? It's all the cogs just coming together and making everything.
We're hoping so.
There you go. Meg, thank you so much for joining me today. I really, really appreciate it. It's been a pleasure to chat with you. Anything else you want to share with the crowd before we officially take off here?
I thank you for having me. I was super excited when you were like, hey, I'm going to do this. Do you chat with me? And I was like, absolutely. Like, it wasn't even a thought in my mind. Somebody was like, do you have time to talk today? And I was like, I'm sorry, no, I don't. Engagement already. So I'm so proud of you, and I'm so happy with everything that you are doing, and I cannot wait to see where this continues to go for you. And I've got your back. I'm here to support in any way you need.
Well, thank you so much, Meg. I really appreciate that. It means a lot. Guys, thank you so much for watching the YouTube mantra. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave comments, questions, comments, concerns. Feel free to reach out. Happy to chat with you. As always, thank you for watching videos. We'll see you next time.